This illustration deals with dimmer and relay systems in accordance with NEC 700.23. Purpose of change, a revision was accepted, and this revision has been made to permit the normal power sensing from a normal source upstream of an emergency system transfer switch. UL 924 lists its dimmers or relay systems installed in accordance with 700.23. It is often fed from a normal and emergency source through an upstream UL 1008 transfer type switch. When normal power fails, the entire feed to the dimmer or relay panel is transferred. As such, the dimmer or relay panel must monitor a normal only source rather than its own normal and emergency feed in order to determine whether it's operating on a normal or emergency power and whether a bypass of control function is required. This has created confusion with the requirement of 700.17, item number 1, which implies that normal power sensing must be from the normal branch circuit feeding a normal and emergency type load. First, I'd like to just kind of keep the change in order here, so I want to review the note. A control bypass function is permitted where the dimmer or relay system is fed by a normal emergency source from an upstream transfer switch. Normal power sensing for this function shall be permitted to be from a normal only power source upstream on the transfer switch as outlined in 700.23. Now this is the change that took place in this revision. But at this point, I'd like to just reference some of the call-out information. And first of all, let's just take a look at the generator. And that's an emergency power. That would be a 700 type generator and 700.2 informational note. And then notice we have the upstream transfer switch. That's the bottom call out there with the arrow drawing to your switch. And notice it includes a bypass function in accordance with 700.23. Now notice the raceway system coming into the panel, the transfer switch terminating there. Notice it's normally the power source that we've been talking about. Now, from the transfer switch, we go down to a switch gear there. And notice we can have instrumentation with a barrier there with switching. And then notice we can go up out of the transfer switch into a panel board. And the panel board has a call out identifying it as such. Of course, that panel board is installed by the regulations of 408.40, 408.36 mainly. And then out of the panel board, we route over to the dimmer cabinet, 700.23, and you see the arrow and the call out there identifying it as such. And then we route out of that to the other equipment that you see there. And then from that equipment, we would route it to the emergency lighting load. Now, I would like to just remind you of some other important sections that we do not have illustrations of, but we would like to call your attention to these changes. And notice if you have a meter mounted transfer type switch, we would want to reference 700.5A as in Apple. If you were providing selective coordination, and that's required, then look at your figure 700.32 and that figure will give you a good illustration of how selective coordination would be provided. Now, next, I would refer you for emergency system equipment, designing and location, and you're referencing the 2-hour rule that's required. Then see 700.12b as in boy, and you know that 700.12 deals with generators, batteries, other things that you could use as another power source connected in with the utility. And if you were wanting to maybe design a DC grid for emergency systems now, see 700.12h. And I would call your attention to one thing. If you're installing emergency systems, be sure that you review the entire Article 700 for additional changes that may affect your design and installation, as well if you're the authority having jurisdiction. Review the complete Article 700. We list what we feel like is some of the most important changes. However, we may miss one that's important to you. So we recommend very highly that you review Article 700 and any and all changes that have taken place there to make sure that a particular change doesn't affect your design and installation of emergency systems.